Special Fondness. Chapter 13. After the long moment of tender love-making, Fang Shou couldn't tell what time it actually was, only that he felt exhausted from Tang Qiaoyuan's demands. He snuggled softly in Tang Qiaoyuan's embrace and let him do whatever he wanted. Tang Qiaoyuan was actually very gentle. During the act, he was very considerate towards him by making sure that he was not suffering much and doted on him to the bone. After all, Fang Shou rarely experienced this. Before meeting Tang Qiaoyuan, even a wet dream could make him feel embarrassed for a long time, not to mention this kind of unbridled pleasure. It made him not only physically tired but the blush on his face wouldn't subside either. Tang Qiaoyuan was very restrained before. This time he was no longer worried whether Fang Shou was resistant or feared this act. Buoyed by his confession, he couldn't help himself. So, when Tang Qiaoyuan was finally sated enough to stop, Fang Shou was already so drowsy that he couldn't even move a finger. Tang Qiaoyuan kissed his burning cheeks as he felt his chest constricted as a smile was deeply burned in the bottom of his eyes. He thought of letting Fang Shou sleep like that, but then he also thought about the lunch they missed a long time ago and felt very conflicted. Noticing his hesitation, it was Fang Shou who spoke first and spoke in a hoarse, low voice. "Qiaoyuan, I want to drink water." "All right." Tang Qiaoyuan propped on his elbows to sit up, put on a garment hastily and got out of bed. After a moment, he came back with a teacup only to find that Fang Shou had already closed his eyes again. Tang Qiaoyuan stretched his hand and stroked the side of his face, then coaxed him with a low voice, "Su, wake up and drink a sip of tea." Fang Shou half opened his eyes and after a long while, he slowly raised his arm. Tang Qiaoyuan leaned over so he could help him get up by embracing his back and held him to sit up. After Fang Shou leaned on him, he brought the tea to his lips and carefully fed it to him. "Are you hungry?" Fang Shou drank most of the water in the cup. Then he nodded after hearing the question only to immediately shook his head as he replied, "Don't want to eat, want to sleep." Tang Qiaoyuan felt another pang in his chest when he heard that. He put down the teacup with his backhand and helped Fang Shou lie down again. His fingers lifted up the strands of hair scattered on Fang Shou's face as he said, "It won't do if you don't eat. I will let the kitchen prepare something. You sleep for a while first." Fang Shou was nearly asleep as he nodded subconsciously and couldn't even speak even half a word. His whole body was swept by exhaustion after the emotional turmoil. He just thought that it's fine whether he eat or not. He only wanted to sleep for a while. As he was thinking about it, his breathing gradually became even. Tang Qiaoyuan couldn't bear to disturb him, so he brought clean water by himself to wipe Fang Shou's body clean. The thin quilt on Fang Shou was gently taken away, which made him slightly frown, but it didn't wake him from his deep slumber. Tang Qiaoyuan looked at him with a smile for a while, then he stood up and pulled the bed curtains close. Then he also cleaned himself up and left the room after putting on some clothes. The courtyard was still quiet as no one dared to step in it without his permission. Tang Qiaoyuan only saw a maidservant waiting outside when he walked out of the courtyard. He then given her the instructions, "Tell the kitchen to prepare some fresh porridge, one that is light and nourishing would be the best." The maidservant answered with a salute. He turned around afterwards as he had no intention of staying there any longer. Who knew that after barely taking 2 steps, he would be called out by the maidservant behind him. Tang Qiaoyuan turned his head and saw Bai Ping walking forward with 2 quiet little girls following behind her. Bai Ping gave him a slight bow, took a letter out from her sleeves and gave it to him. "Master, your cousin is already on her way." Tang Qiaoyuan took the letter. When he heard her words, he didn't open the letter to read it. He crumpled it into a ball and threw it on the ground. Uncle's illness couldn't possibly have gone away this fast. She just went home for over a month and she is already coming back. Tang Qiaoyuan frowned unhappily and said with a cold voice, "Who allowed her to come?" Bai Ping did not answer, thinking that this question wasn't really for her. After all, that cousin came and went at her will. She had always treated the Tang mansion like her own. Did she even cared whether she was allowed or not? Moreover, she knew that Tang Jiaoyuan was someone who's indifferent. There were many things that he didn't really bother about. However, he respected his uncle whom he was indebted to for his kindness in the past, that he couldn't help but indulge this cousin of his a bit. If the master was like this, what could a servant like her get to say? Bai Ping waited for him to drop a few words out of anger and did not answer. A moment later, she saw Tang Jiaoyuan do just as she expected and wouldn't close the door on the person who was on the way. However, he gave a stern instruction. Since she's already on her way, then serve her well when she arrive. But one thing. Bai Ping's eyebrows moved slightly, and looked forward to his unfinished words. A look of disgust came across Tang Jiaoyuan's face. She is not allowed to come even half a step near the main courtyard. Yes. Bai Ping became happy upon hearing this, as her lips revealed a delighted smile when she bowed her head. One more thing, let the 3 people from the Fang family go. This servant understands. Tang Jiaoyuan went back to his bedroom as the maidservant stood in the same spot while digesting his last 2 instructions, which were related to Fang Su, especially the one before the last. In the past, when that female cousin of his came to the mansion, she was never forbidden from entering the main courtyard. Hearing that instruction really meant that there's another most important individual within the mansion. Behind her were all the new maidservants who had to learn the rules by following Bai Ping. They listened from the side while trembling in fear. Only when they saw that Tang Jiaoyuan had walked far enough did they dare ask in a low voice, "Sister Bai Ping, Master doesn't seem to be very happy. That female cousin coming here, will it cause some trouble?" "So, what if it does?" Bai Ping turned around to look toward the young girls who were still young and innocent, and smiled. Someone should have put her in her place a long time ago. One after another, the 2 maidservants looked puzzled. Bai Ping didn't discuss this matter any further and only said, "Let's go," as she led the 2 of them away. Meanwhile, Bai Ping had already placed a big bet on the person who was unaware of everything and was sleeping soundly under the blanket till dusk. Fang Su's body was thoroughly cleaned by Tang Jiaoyuan, that when he woke up, he felt fresh and comfortable. He had always hated sweating. However, since it was just the beginning of the summer, he still liked to wrap himself in a thin blanket to feel warmth all over when he was sleeping, which made his cheeks turn slightly red. The small porridge boiling in the pot was silky and light, with finely stewed chicken soup was also added to the boiling porridge as water. After tasting one bite, Tang Jiaoyuan felt quite satisfied and generously rewarded the kitchen personnel. Soon afterwards, he personally carried the small pot back to the room. On his way back, none of the servants dared to look up at him. The bed curtain in the room was lifted up. Since it was getting dark, the light in the room was not so dazzling anymore. Fang Su was still deeply asleep with no disturbance at all. After a short while, he was forcefully picked up by Tang Jiaoyuan and was forced to wake up. Fang Su's eyes remained closed as he didn't want to open them. Tang Jiaoyuan lowered his head to rub against his face and rubbed continuously for a while until Fang Su brought out a bit of his weak temper. He groaned and pushed Tang Jiaoyuan's head away. Tang Jiaoyuan couldn't help but laugh. He moved closer to kiss him and whispered, "Su should wake up now. If you don't wake up now, you will be watching the moon throughout the entire night." Fang Su murmured in a low voice, as if he was complaining about being woken up, then reached out his hands again to push. He kept pushing again and again until he buried himself on Tang Jiaoyuan's shoulders to continue sleeping. Tang Jiaoyuan simply lowered his head and kissed him. He first licked his lips gently, but a moment later, he stuck his tongue inside his mouth, making the kiss hot and intense. "N." Fang Su groaned and woke up gradually. He looked blankly at the man before him with half-lidded eyes. Tang Jiaoyuan let him go with a low smile, then very slowly licked the saliva on his lips. He watched with great interest as Fang Su's eyes became sober and his face turned red. Tang Jiaoyuan picked up his clothes, then helped him get dressed up as he teased, "In the future when you're lazing in bed, how about I wake you up like this?" Fang Su was already feeling weak in the knees. After being kissed like that earlier, his whole body became soft. He lowered his eyes without responding and allowed Tang Qiaoyuan to help him get dressed. Although Fang Su didn't say anything, he understood very well that this man was only just saying it without really meaning it. Usually, when he woke up a little later, Tang Qiaoyuan would normally watch over him quietly by his side and would definitely not disturb him. Now however, he woke him up with various ways for fear that he would get hungry. Fang Su's eyes curled. Tang Qiaoyuan carried him up to the table. He scooped some porridge from he pot into the smaller bowl and blew on each spoonful before feeding him. Fang Su, who just woke up, lacked appetite, but he couldn't reject these considerate actions at all. After eating 2 mouthfuls, his appetite improved and he instantly felt the emptiness in his stomach. He was actually starving. The chicken in the porridge was delicious and not greasy. Fang Su noticed that he only prepared 1 bowl and 1 spoon, so he asked curiously, "Why are you not eating?" "I already ate," Tang Qiaoyuan answered, without forgetting to add nonsense in his words. "When you were sleeping like a log under the blanket, I was in the kitchen stealing mouthfuls for a long time." Fang Su listened till he laughed out loud, making the porridge in his mouth tasted even better. The two of them were very cozy inside as they fed themselves pleasantly. End chapter. Special Fondness. Chapter 14. Outside the Tang mansion in Linzhou City, a carriage adorned with tassels on the roof slowly came to a stop. 2 maidservants came down from the carriage first. One lifted the curtain while the other carefully waited outside the carriage with a stretched out hand to help the person inside. After a while, a delicate jade-like hand came out from inside. It seemed soft and boneless, fair and translucent, which was quite fascinating. The doorman greeted them and hurriedly approached the carriage to invite them in after making sure the guests set their feet on the ground. He bowed and greeted carefully, "The young miss has come. The room in the jade courtyard has been cleaned up. Please go ahead and rest for a while. This humble one will go ask the kitchen to serve some refreshments." The maiden being was addressed was Tang Qiaoyuan's cousin, whom he was distantly related. Her name was Qin Meiwan and lived in Lu City, which was a dozen of miles away from Linzhou City. She was a renowned beauty in the local area. Qin Meiwan was over 20 years old. Some years earlier, countless wealthy families almost broke the threshold of the Qin mansion to ask for her hand in marriage, but not only was this lady unwilling to respond, she would even leave home from time to time to stay extensively at Tang mansion. Sometimes, she would stay for months. Gradually, people had come to understand that this flower had already recognized a master and was only waiting for Tang Qiaoyuan to pick it home someday. There were even those who spread illicit rumors that the two of them already had an understanding and that marriage was just a matter of time. Concerning this matter, Tang Qiaoyuan always chose to ignore it. Only when it became unbearable, would he drive Qin Meiwan away back home. Moreover, there were countless times when he would keep her outside of the gate of the mansion with a cold face. However, this woman was very persistent and still did her best to stick with him. Later, Tang Qiaoyuan became too tired to deal with it and simply turned a blind to her. He allowed her to do whatever she wants while he pretended that she didn't exist at all. However, Tang Qiaoyuan got married to Fang Su just a month ago. He only invited close and old friends within the city, with the invitation only sent out the day before the wedding. After the news came out, everyone was surprised. More so the people who knew about Qin Meiwan. They couldn't understand how she could have lost the position of the mansion master's wife overnight. They were very curious about the person that Tang Qiaoyuan set his mind on. The rumor spread further and further until not long after, it reached Lu City. After several turns, it reached Qin Meiwan's ears. Qin Meiwan's father was still sick, but it wasn't too serious as he only needed to rest to get better. Therefore, Qin Meiwan, who was extremely anxious about this rumor, rushed over to Linzhou City, burning with jealousy. After rushing about for half a day, Qin Meiwan finally saw the two characters for Tang Mansion in front of her. Hearing the doorman's words as if he was walking on thin ice, her slender phoenix eyes glanced at him coldly. She sneered at him and said, "What? I haven't entered the mansion yet and you're already hurrying me into the jade courtyard. Are you afraid that I'll disturb cousin? The doorman hurriedly lowered his head even more and said to appease her, young Miss Jean is a distinguished guest. This humble one is merely afraid that the young miss is tired from the trip and would like to rest. Distinguished guest. Qin Mei Wang couldn't bring herself to be happy after hearing these words. She stretched her hand and pushed the doorman, she lifted her robe and walked into the mansion. The doorman wasn't on guard as his thin body was immediately pushed to the ground but didn't dare to complain out loud. He rubbed his back and stood up, following closely behind. Qin Mei Wang crossed the threshold and took 2 more steps when she saw that 3 persons not far away were walking toward hers. The person's silhouette walking in the front looked very familiar, making her unconsciously halt from taking another step to take a look at them. After a while, she recognized Bai Ping. The other 2 maidservants looked completely unfamiliar, perhaps they were new. Miss Jean has arrived, Bai Ping approached and inclined her body. May I invite the lady to the jade courtyard to rest? Ha! Qin Mei Wan picked up her sleeve and chuckled lightly, looking at her with interest. Why are all of you in a hurry for me to go the jade courtyard? What, is there anything that others shouldn't see in this mansion? Bai Ping lifted her head, the respectful smile on her lips remained but her next words dripped with sarcasm, answering Miss Jean, this mansion has nothing that shouldn't be seen by others. Qin Mei Wan didn't understand what she was saying at first but when she realized the meaning behind her words, she was so angry that she lifted her hand and was about to hit her. Bai Ping did not hide and only her brows moved slightly, seeing that slap wasn't in a hurry to land on her and was stopped by Qin Mei Wan's maid. In a hurry, that maid went in front of her to block her and her thin cheek was slapped on Bai Ping's stead. She knelt down while holding her cheek as she urgently persuaded her, please don't be angry, miss. Qin Mei Wang glared at her. In her heart she was angry and distressed. She remembered that time when she lifted her hand on Bai Ping before. Nothing happened to her but the next day, she found out that her personal maid's cheek was red and swollen that took 3 days to disappear. Qin Mei Wan was so indignant then that she went to find Tang Qiaoyuan for an explanation but Tang Qiaoyuan was extremely indifferent as he said, Su Yu is one of your people, then is Bai Ping not one of my people? Qin Mei Wan understood that she was on the wrong first. At that time, even if she was angry she couldn't do anything and could only suffer the loss. From then on, even if she acted like a tyrant in the mansion, she had to be more patient towards Bai Ping. Upon recalling those memories, Qin Mei Wan took a deep breath and narrowed her eyes to look at Bai Ping, as if she was staring at someone else through her. She suddenly thought that if a simple head maid servant could make Tang Qiaoyuan this protective of her, then wouldn't it be even more when it came to that rumored person? She feared that they could casually suppress her arrogance. Thankfully, she still had a trick up her sleeve that only she knows about. In her opinion, this chip she was holding onto could without a doubt, helped her win everything back. Ah, Miss Bai Ping, Qin Mei Wan's expression changed and she smiled at the maiden before her, the anger that she'd just recently let out disappeared completely as she calmly told her, I am not such a frail lady that was beset with sickness. I only traveled for half a day and not so tired that I am not able to walk. Now that I have returned to the Tang mansion, it is only natural that I go to meet my elder cousin first. Bai Ping noticed that she used the word returned on purpose and felt extremely repulsed. But even if she did not take Qin Mei Wan seriously, she couldn't go too far. There was difference between a master and a servant, after all. So, she could only also fake a smile and answered, unfortunately Miss Jean, Master is currently busy and without his permission, no one is allowed to approach the main courtyard. Bai Ping paused as she saw her face turned ugly, then leisurely continued, the master specifically said that no one is an exception. The last few words were said very clearly, Qin Mei Wan felt completely unable to hold her face. She let out an angry sneer then she flicked her sleeves and left. Bai Ping sent her away with her gaze until she couldn't see her back silhouette anymore. Only then did the smile on her face fell, her eyes extremely unhappy. The 2 maidservants behind her relaxed their tensed bodies. These girls have just arrived in the mansion. They were still unruly when no one was around. Seeing that the danger had passed, one of them immediately said in clear voice, "Sister Bai Ping is really incredible. You show no timidity in front of the master, and when you speak with this lady cousin, you are even more formidable." After one person said something like this, the other hurriedly echoed the same. Bai Ping turned around and the two girls restrained themselves a bit. They shut their mouths and didn't dare to talk nonsense anymore, but a smile could still be seen in their eyes. After a while, Bai Ping also slightly curved the corners of her lips and reminded them, "That person just now is not a master that you should provoke. You two have just arrived. In the future, if you see her, go around and as far as possible. If you notice something strange when you see her, don't forget to let me know anytime." "Yes, Sister Bai Ping." The two maidservants nodded and bowed respectfully. "We will remember this." Bai Ping nodded. The small incident was temporarily resolved there. Thinking about the kind of person that woman was, she's afraid that they haven't heard the end of this. Bai Ping turned again and walked towards the main courtyard. Tang Qiaoyuan just fed Fang Su 2 small bowls of porridge. The dinner time was a bit delayed, but they still have to eat. He stopped persuading him to eat more, as given Fang Su's pitiful appetite, he might get reluctant to eat some more later on. Tang Qiaoyuan put down the bowl with the spoon and wanted to get the handkerchief to wipe off the porridge stain on the corners of Fang Su's mouth, but before his hand could get close to it, Fang Su grabbed the handkerchief and heard him speak in a low voice, "I can do it myself." Thinking how Tang Qiaoyuan always coaxed him like a small child, Fang Su got embarrassed again. Tang Qiaoyuan was thinking, how could he still be this shy with him when they have done a lot more intimate deed together? Just when he was about to tease him about it, he suddenly heard a tap outside the window. "Who is it?" Outside of the window, Bai Ping answered and lightly called, "Master." "Wait for me outside the door." Tang Qiaoyuan looked down at Fang Su's thin attire. To save him the embarrassment, he didn't call Bai Ping to come into the room. Bai Ping's shadow could be seen on the window. She bowed and walked to the door. There was not a single moment when Tang Qiaoyuan didn't want to be intimate with Fang Su. These days, he had been holding him happily in his arms. Now that he stood up to go out, he intended to leave him sitting on the stool by himself. However, he noticed that Fang Su was sitting uncomfortably. Thus, Tang Qiaoyuan moved him to the soft couch, thinking that it was as if he was putting away his most precious treasure. The thought made him feel extremely happy. Fang Su laughed quietly and raised his head as Tang Qiaoyuan was leaning down for a kiss. His eyes curved as he watched him go out. After a while, the conversation could be heard from the corridor. Fang Su didn't really mean to eavesdrop, but it was quiet in the corridor and the persons didn't seem to be intentionally talking quietly. Thus, the conversation fell on his ears intermittently. The maidservant outside spoke first, "The 3 members of the Fang family have been sent back." Tang Qiaoyuan nodded and answered with a good. Fang Su, who was in the room, also thought the same. Bai Ping then went on again to speak about an important matter, but this time, Fang Su didn't quite understand it. "Master, that person has come." The maidservant stopped her at the door of the mansion and did not let her go further into the main courtyard. Tang Qiaoyuan's words did not contain much reassurance. He felt as if he was having a headache. You can only stop her for a while, but knowing her temperament, she won't ever listen. If she doesn't listen, what should be done? Bai Ping asked, calmly looking at him. Tang Qiaoyuan chuckled, "Do whatever you have to do. You've always been able to strike the right balance. As long as it doesn't disturb Madam, anything is fine." Immediately after that, he asked back, "Are you really asking me this, or do you just want to hear me say it?" Bai Ping did not feign ignorance and bowed to him happily, "I cannot hide anything from Master." This servant was just waiting for Master to say this. Tang Qiaoyuan chuckled again. The 2 people outside talked about that person again and said a few more words and occasionally uttered some words like marriage and prevent. Fang Sou could hear them inside the room, but it became more and more confusing for him. Although he didn't think much about it, he could vaguely felt that it was related to him. He thought about it but could not figure it out, so he could only wait for Tang Qiaoyuan to return and ask him about it. But in this short amount of time, Fang Sou felt uneasy in his heart. He did not know the reason, but the feeling was only growing deeper. End chapter. Special Fondness. Chapter 15. Qiaoyuan, did something happen within the mansion? Tang Qiaoyuan just returned to the room and opened the curtain, but had yet approached when he heard Fang Sou's question. He smiled as he walked over and replied, "It's nothing important." Fang Sou half believed and half doubted his words. He waited until he sat beside the couch before he turned his head to ask him again, "Did someone came over?" Tang Qiaoyuan lost his smile slightly, raised his brows and stroked that face full of concern. For a moment he was slightly distracted and thought that his Fang Sou was actually born smart and alert, but was naturally restrained and never made it known. Probably because he was used to being wronged before, Fang Sou could maintain proper vigilance at all times, but faced with kindness around him, he can also put down all his guards and completely give his trust. It seems contradictory, but Tang Qiaoyuan understood the reason. It's because although Fang Sou was used to having so little, he always had some expectations in his heart and a kind-hearted wish that people could treat each other with sincerity. Now that they got to know each other, it was Tang Qiaoyuan's opinion that it wasn't because Fang Sou met him, but that he, Tang Qiaoyuan, was fortunate to be the one person whom Fang Sou had married. Tang Qiaoyuan felt very satisfied with this. From then on, the only wish he had in this life was for the two of them to keep each other company to the ripe old age. In conclusion, apart from giving everything to Fang Sou, Tang Qiaoyuan also wished that both of them won't be troubled by irrelevant people's matters. In case that trouble came knocking on their door, he had every intention to be the one to confront them so that Fang Sou wouldn't need to worry about it. Tang Qiaoyuan's thoughts drifted away for a bit. Then he helplessly sighed after he returned to his senses. He said with a smile, "Su doesn't need to mind it. It's a distant younger cousin of mine who has come. She has an arrogant character. You don't need to pay attention to her." Fang Sou didn't understand. He thought that although they were distant relatives, there should be a kinship between cousins. But upon hearing what Tang Qiaoyuan said, he was obviously being dismissive towards this cousin. Fang Sou couldn't help but find this somewhat strange and couldn't help but ask, "That may be so, but since we have accepted them as guest, wouldn't leaving them be and ignoring him quite inappropriate?" The person in front of him showed a very happy look for a moment when he heard him. Dismissing the subject, he just chuckled and pulled Fang Sou into his arms as he said, "You only need to remember that she's a mere guest here. You are different as you are a master here." Fang Sou was stunned, then he blushed and lowered his eyes. It seems that he misspoke. He didn't mean to be arrogant about it. He just felt that this cousin came to the Tang mansion as a guest but did not think of himself as a master of the Tang mansion. In this short period of time since he married Tang Qiaoyuan, he already regarded him as the most important person for him. He wasn't thinking about anything else. Even if he wasn't the master of Tang mansion, as long as he have Tang Qiaoyuan, he would have no regrets. Now that Tang Qiaoyuan was teasing him on purpose and was enjoying his bashfulness, he didn't quite know how to respond, so he could only shut his mouth and said no more. Tang Qiaoyuan could see his distress and stopped teasing him. Then he spoke seriously this time, "If she can remember herself that she's just a guest, then I would be thankful to heaven and earth. Anyway, she's not a nice person, so it is better if you don't meet her. If you do happen come across her, just ignore her." Fang Sou could now hear the implication behind these words. It was obvious that Tang Qiaoyuan did not really like this young woman. He did not object and just nodded. Tang Qiaoyuan looked at his gentle appearance and liked it so much. He reached out a hand to pinch one side of his face, then he left the soft couch and walked toward the bookshelf while speaking, "We will have dinner in a while. It is already dark." Since Su doesn't have much energy to take a walk outside, how about listening to this husband read some book for you? He looked back after asking that and saw that Fang Su was stunned while holding the cheek that has been pinched. After hearing what he had just said, Fang Su's ears slowly turned red with an expression that makes others want to bully him. Tang Qiaoyuan had an idea as he picked out a book and made up his mind that he would be reading him stories about ghosts and monsters. Last time we talked about monsters. Su seemed to be particularly interested about them, so should we read some more about this genre of folk tales? Tang Qiaoyuan waved the book in his hand. Fang Su didn't like to be picky. Moreover, he did enjoy this kind of colorful folk tales, so he curved his lips and nodded. Tang Qiaoyuan returned to the soft couch, took off his shoes and sat down. He leaned back on the couch and pulled Fang Su into his embrace. Then flipped through the familiar book in his hands and found the page he wanted. Then he started to read with a serious expression. This story is about monsters that take human lives. Fang Su was in high spirits as he nodded and looked over the book, trying to identify the few uncommon characters on it as he tried to get comfortable. These monsters used to be normal animals in the human world, such as stray cats in the gutters, foxes in the forest, or rabbits in the haystacks. After they cultivate for 100,000 years, they gained mystical powers that allowed them to take human forms. Each one of them have attractive, gorgeous appearances. In order to suck away human soul, they would go back and forth in the human world and especially picked young and strong men to seduce. They would entangle with them until the men died by having their yang energy sucked dry. Fang Su was really fascinated and asked, then why do these men always get tricked? Evil spirits probably appear in a very strange way. How come these men didn't take precautions against them? Because they become besotted. Tang Qiaoyuan was very happy to hear his question. Although they were aware that there is danger, they still fell for the temptation. Aside from being infatuated, they also indulged in their desires and cannot bring themselves to break away. Fang Su did not understand. In his opinion, a beautiful or ugly appearance is nothing but skin deep. If behind the gorgeous appearance was a monster and the feelings were not sincere, then it is better to avoid them early on. As he was engrossed in his thoughts, Tang Qiaoyuan suddenly brought his face closer until the tips of their noses were almost touching and spoke suggestively. I don't know what kind of spirit transformed into my Fang Su and got my head all twisted about. Fang Su did not know how to react at the moment. Under his blank expression, there was embarrassment. He also seemed to be thinking about something. Before he managed to respond, he heard Tang Qiaoyuan chuckle and made some guesses. A fox? A cat? Or a small rabbit perhaps? Fang Su's eyes flashed unexpected and suddenly responded with a question of his own. Qiaoyuan, you. Why do you like me? This question sounded familiar. Tang Qiaoyuan remembered that he already heard it once. He restrained his teasing tone and his expression became gentler. I am not clear about it. I just like you. Fang Su was startled, his emotion was hard to describe. Tang Qiaoyuan was afraid that he would dwell too much about this, so he started teasing him again. Actually, the reason for liking someone is not that important. I like what I like. Since I like you, I cannot like someone else. After hearing that, Fang Su deliberated for a while. After some thought, he couldn't help but agree that such thing was indeed like this. He was overthinking this, so he let the matter go and gave Tang Qiaoyuan a gentle smile. Tang Qiaoyuan put the book aside to free his hands to hug him and smiled deeply for a long moment. That conversation just now did not make him feel awkward at all. On the contrary, it made him feel extremely pleased. Fang Su was simply asking and thinking like this because he genuinely cared. Fang Su did not need to say too much, as a mere why was enough to show his feelings. Tang Qiaoyuan was content and happy. He was happy if days could pass by like this. Fang Su's thoughts scattered in the blink of an eye. There was never a moment of dissatisfaction when he was with Tang Qiaoyuan. He subsequently forgotten that there was an uninvited guest who was residing under the roof of the mansion. In a blink of an eye, a few days have passed. Fang Su haven't gone out of the mansion these past days or even walk a half step past the main courtyard. Tang Qiaoyuan was always by his side, their shadows almost inseparable. After some time, he had the urge to take a walk outside the courtyard, but seeing that Tang Qiaoyuan seemed to be not interested to go, he did not say anything about this and only took a few glances outside the courtyard. One evening after the two of them had finished their dinner, Tang Qiaoyuan saw that Fang Su was in good spirits and finally took the initiative to ask him out. Do you want to walk outside? Fang Su immediately nodded, looking up at him with bright eyes. I wanted to walk around the garden. I've only been staying in the courtyard lately. He wasn't thinking about anything else when he said that, but after Tang Qiaoyuan asked this, he remembered Qin Meiwan, who was thrown somewhere in the mansion and couldn't help but feel anxious. After much contemplation, Tang Qiaoyuan realized that this woman would never take the initiative to leave herself, and Fang Su could not remain confined within the main courtyard while Qin Meiwan refused to leave. Furthermore, he was there to keep Fang Su company. Nothing would happen. Qin Meiwan was just a woman after all, what could she possibly do? Thinking like this, Tang Qiaoyuan lessened his guard as he held Fang Su's hand and strolled out in a very good mood. Who knew if it were a coincidence or if it was because Qin Meiwan heard it from a maidservant, but Tang Qiaoyuan and Fang Su really did run into her in the garden. Qin Meiwan saw them first. She stood there and watched them from afar until the couple took notice of her. She calmly bowed in greetings like a proper lady. Fang Su only returned to his senses when Qin Meiwan turned to leave. He turned to look at Tang Qiaoyuan and then asked, "She should be that cousin of yours, right? Looking at her, she doesn't seem like someone hard to get along with. She also looks pretty." Tang Qiaoyuan was deep in his thoughts as he absent-mindedly nodded. He was puzzled by Qin Meiwan's actions, which was vastly different from the past. But in the end, he dismissed it and did not think much about it. He would just remain guarded about her as before. Then he took Fang Su to stroll somewhere else. At that time, he did not dwell on the strangeness of it all. Little did he knew that from that time on, Qin Meiwan would not stay put anymore. The next morning, a maidservant was sent to bring white fungus jujube lotus seed soup to the bedroom. Fang Su noticed a slip of paper under the small bowl. He opened it to take a look and couldn't help but be surprised. He turned to look at Tang Qiaoyuan, who was behind the wide folding screen and secretly hid the slip of paper inside the sleeves of his robe. He could understand what was written on the paper as the characters for love potion, but it seemed something was igniting the doubts buried deep in his heart. End chapter. Special Fondness. Chapter 16. What's wrong? The person behind the folding screen walked out. Tang Qiaoyuan walked to the table and saw Fang Su holding the porcelain spoon in a daze. He bent over and hugged Fang Su from behind. He took a look at the bowl of soup and asked, "Is today's soup not good?" Fang Su returned to his senses and shook his head. Tang Qiaoyuan curled his lips into a small smile. He held Fang Su's hand to scoop up half a spoon of soup and fed it to himself. He tasted it, and as if he was asking and answering himself, he declared, "The taste is quite good." Fang Su couldn't help but laugh. He then suppressed the restless heartbeat in his chest. Those unformed thoughts in his mind were only guesses. He didn't want to share them with Tang Qiaoyuan for the time being. Tang Qiaoyuan was initially at a loss as to what to do, but seeing that Fang Su was fine, his heart eased up. He sat down beside him to keep him company in finishing their breakfast. Fang Su acted as if everything was fine, but in reality, that slip of paper inside his sleeves felt sharp and heavy. It seemed to be emitting heat, scalding Fang Su and tormenting him. For the other half of the day, he seemed to be absent-minded, silently guessing who wrote that note. This question was actually not hard to answer. The Tang mansion was calm and peaceful before. Although Fang Su have only been staying here for a few days, those days passed smoothly without any disturbance. But now that someone had come to the mansion and had a glance at him from a distance, he had received these loaded words in a blink of an eye. The calligraphy was light and neat, which made it easy to guess who had written them. Fang Su knew who should he look for, but the person next to him accompanied him all day long, which didn't give him the chance to leave the main courtyard by himself. Helpless, he could only wait quietly. But coincidences were about to happen. Early in the afternoon, someone raised a ruckus and made damages at the gambling den north of Linzhou City. Fang Su was laying on the couch and taking an afternoon nap at that time. He heard Bai Pin, who deliberately lowered her voice from the corridor, but he kept his eyes closed. He could not hear everything clearly. He only knew that after a while Tang Qiaoyuan returned to the room, covered him with a thin blanket and left in a hurry. Then everything became silent. Fang Su slowly held onto the warm blanket, then he turned to get up from the couch and walked outside alone. The jade courtyard of the Tang mansion was located on the other side of the garden. It was separated from the main courtyard. The jade courtyard was quiet, as if the group of servants seemed to have been taken away on purpose. Fang Su stepped inside and did not even see the shadow of a human. He was thinking that the young woman was probably waiting, so he stopped caring about manners and went straight to the inner room of the jade courtyard. The woman inside was sitting in the outer room, holding a mirror in her hand while carefully tracing her eyebrows. Hearing the footsteps, she let out a sweet smile, stopped her hand and lifted her head to look at the threshold. Fang Su stepped inside and met her eyes, then nodded to greet her. Qin Mei Wang curved the corners of her lips and did not treat him with courtesy. She only gazed at that pair of beautiful brows of her in the mirror and spoke briskly, "I thought that you would not know to come and find me at this time. You are not as stupid as I thought." The sarcasm in her voice was obvious, but Fang Su did not care about it and bluntly said, "I don't know when Tang Qiaoyuan will return. How about Lady Cousin just states what she has to say?" Qin Mei Wan took a glance at him as jealousy and hatred flashed in her eyes. "Qiaoyuan. You sure call him intimately. But can you not guess why he had to leave the mansion? If I have the means to make him leave, then I also have my own ways to delay him." Fang Su was stunned and suddenly understood. This was no coincidence. This woman did something intentionally. So, he did not urge her anymore and only waited for her to continue speaking. Qin Mei Wan was not in a hurry to deal with him. After she finished putting her makeup on, she walked towards him and held him by the wrist. She then brought him to sit down to the chair. She stared down at him for so long that he started to feel uncomfortable. Only then did she start talking about old matters. "Cousin and I know each other since we were little. One can even say that we are childhood sweethearts. Since I turned sensible enough, I fell in love with him. He's the only one I have acknowledged in 10 or so years. I will not marry anyone but him." As Qin Mei Wan said this, her long nails gently stroked Fang Su's face. She chuckled and continued, "I know cousin doesn't have me in his heart, but I still do not want to let go. There are hundreds of millions of tricks in the world. I will always have my way to move his heart. But where did you came from? You are nowhere better than me, yet you dared to get ahead of me." She was so close to him that Fang Su could breathe the scent of her face powder. He frowned uncomfortably and avoided her hand. "You are obviously a man, yet you married someone as a wife. Don't you find that unpleasant?" After hearing this question, Fang Su did not stay silent anymore. He shook his heart and said plainly, "Why would it be unpleasant? Man or woman, as long as it was someone willing to accompany you for life. Qiaoyuan is very considerate toward me." After saying this, he took out the slip of paper that had been hidden in his sleeves for half a day and wanted to settle this once and for all. "This should be written by Lady Cousin. What do you mean with this note saying love potion?" Qin Mei Wan raised her brows, took the note and crumpled it in her palm. The smile on her face deepened as she leisurely asked back with some ridicule, "Tang Qiaoyuan is someone who doesn't find anyone pleasing to the eye. Did you ever wondered why he likes you?" Fang Su did not speak, but he raised his head and looked straight to the woman's eyes. "The love potion is called special fondness. Love will be born even if there is no feelings at all. How can there be deep affection right at the very beginning? It was because he was drugged and nothing at all. Even if it was not you, if someone else had appeared in front of him at that time, he would have married them as well. He would also think that he had truly fallen in love with them. As if a muffled thunder had struck him, Fang Sui felt extremely cold in his heart. Although he did not want to believe it, he couldn't help it. The suspicions that he had been harboring in his mind turned out to be true. All of a sudden, Fang Sui remembered the question he asked Tang Qiaoyuan. "Why do you like me?" And he answered with, "Why indeed?" Tang Qiaoyuan never knew the reason. Fang Sui was also puzzled about this. Now everything became clear. It was only because of the love potion. He was drugged with love potion. It wasn't of his own free will. Love? Infatuation? Neither of this was real. The special fondness potion was difficult to find. Back then, it took Qin Meiwan a long time before she got her hands on it. This love potion was actually poison and very harmful. If the person who had been drugged do not take the antidote within a year, their body would wither and die. Although Qin Meiwan was obsessed with Tang Qiaoyuan, she received nothing but cold treatment from him over the years that she inevitably developed some hatred for him in her heart which complicated her affection for him. If she were not so obsessed with him, how could she bear to harm him with this kind of potent poison? Tang Qiaoyuan was drugged not long ago. At that time, Qin Meiwan watched him swallow the drug with her own eyes, with love and hatred in her heart. She supported herself on the table as she broke down in laughter as if she had gone crazy while she repeated over and over, "This time, you should finally fall for me." She almost cried as she laughed, which raised Tang Qiaoyuan's doubts. After he learned what she had done, he immediately pushed her away and left the mansion. He rode a horse out of the city to an isolated forest. Tang Qiaoyuan did not want to fall in love with someone for no reason. He wanted to stay in that isolated forest by himself while the drug was still in effect. He had not realized that special fondness was not an aphrodisiac but a potent love potion. It would not disappear over time. On the contrary, it would force the affected person to have internal illness until they relieved the emotions in their heart. At that time, Tang Qiaoyuan sat back under a tree, his eyes faintly glowing scarlet. Then he heard someone's voice nearby. He turned his head towards the voice with his hazy mind. Through the layers of vegetation, he saw Fang Sui, who came to pay respects to his deceased mother. Tang Qiaoyuan silently looked at him. After a while, his lips curved into a smile, then he gradually fell unconscious. After he woke up, Tang Qiaoyuan had already forgotten everything. When the potion took effect, he did not remember its cause and effect. He only knew that there was someone's face that lingered in his heart. Tang Qiaoyuan walked to the tomb and wrote down the name of the owner of the tomb. When he returned to the mansion, he asked people to investigate Fang Sui's background. Since then, he spent his day and night with Fang Sui. At that time, Qin Meiwan had no idea about this. Although she was confused about how Tang Qiaoyuan came back safe and sound, she didn't get the chance to find out the reason, as 2 days after that, her father had sent a letter and she unwillingly had to temporarily return to Lu City. The truth turned out to be this absurd. Fang Sui quietly listened to her finish talking. Turbulent waves were hidden in the bottom of his eyes. His face remained as calm as it was from the beginning, showing neither sadness or happiness. He raised his head and asked, "What about the antidote?" Qin Meiwan was stunned, her expression momentarily turned hideous. She raised her voice and angrily said, "Shouldn't you be begging me? You should beg me to help you hide this matter, act as if you know nothing and continue to be your owner's wife." Fang Sui watched her acting crazily. Then he bowed and said, "If there is no antidote, who knew how long Qiaoyuan can still live?" "Haha," Qin Meiwan couldn't restrain her laughter. "You can pretend to be this considerate and kind, but he won't be grateful. Once he remembers the reason, he will dislike you or even come to hate you. If you want the antidote, then you will have to leave the Tang mansion." She spoke threateningly and menacingly, with each statements meant to drive him out of the mansion. What she didn't know was that he agreed to it all. He ought to leave. So, he patiently waited until she said everything she wanted to say. Then he stretched out his hand without saying anything. After a while, Qin Mei Wan finally calmed down, the expression of her eyebrows showing some weariness. Then she took out a paper bag from her sleeve. Fang Su received it in his hand and squeezed it tightly, finally letting out a helpless smile, thinking that he was having this beautiful dream for such a long time. It was time to wake up. Fortunately, this dream was perfect. Meeting him was not pointless at all. End chapter.